Hello and welcome to Shipping Insight's inaugural showcase, where we meet with technology and solution providers to help solve some of the maritime industry's thorniest problems. I am Carleen Leiden-Walker, Chief Evolution Officer of Shipping Insight and the host of today's showcase. This week is the meeting of the MEPC in London, where the discussions about setting goals and policies around the decarbonization in maritime are occurring. Like most change in our industry, this is not done without a lot of confusion and controversy. Most recently have been the outcry about the CII index and other measures to determine a ship's actual emissions profile. Joining us today to help navigate us through the storm is Alexander Varvanenko, CEO and founder of Shipnext, and no stranger to our industry and its many variations. Welcome to Shipping Insights Showcase, Alex.
Hi, Carleen. Nice to see you again, and thank you very much for having me.
Well, delighted to have you. And can you please help us make sense of the challenges and the goals of CII and how industry can best achieve the goals of the index in a manner that is equitable and truly reflects the emissions from a ship?
Yes, with pleasure. I'm starting off by slideshow. I hope you see my screen.
We do.
Yeah, so today, Carleen, we are going to speak about emission indexes and how we propose to solve this debatable and questionable approach that has been triggering a lot of criticism around the industry from industry leaders. You've probably heard CEOs of Maersk, Hapag-Lloyd, Oldendorf already speak out, and there is more to come as we progress, I'm sure. So the problem of this whole debate is that the CII index proposed by IMO is criticized to be and said to be illogical, and there have been already numerous cases described in the articles preceding this webinar. But I will try to show some insights, very small, easy to understand use cases of how, or case studies, how this could actually turn out. But there are other problems that is actually is triggering this debate is the innovation. And we have spoken to several innovation leaders in the previous month that claim that they have spent tens of millions of dollars on innovation. They have come up with autonomous eco vessels, but it's all very, very costly. And until there is a big demand and a critical mass of construction using this technology, it actually doesn't have this scalability effect, and therefore economies of scale does not really allow it to be efficient. Then, as you know, that the CII index is actually places the whole burden on the ship owner, and you know, it's like killing a piano player in a way, where the industry decides for the cheapest, usually is the cheapest way of moving goods around. Yes, there are cases where they pretend they are choosing for also the greener. In some cases, it does, or in many, it's a question of relationships. You know, there's no really a clear-cut case here when looking at this from the angle of adopting the new technology. But also, we don't know yet what fuel will be widely adopted in the industry, and therefore this actually prevents the whole innovation to take this mass scale, and therefore turn the industry into an eco-friendly green and whatever is meant to be happening by 2030. And the whole transition by then actually bears a lot of economic risks. So everything from disrupt supply chains. We've already seen what has been happening in the last 2 years. Now imagine that there will be more taxes on emissions. There will be more ships scrapped, less ships financed until they are green. And also adopting this new green energy or fuel is also problematic because one problem is having it built. The other problem is having this fuel supply. So therefore, in the CII index, there is no actual consideration taken care of for this transition period of 10 years. And so just before we go on, we need to understand that in Europe, for example, they adopted a European Union allowance that allows you to burn a certain amount of CO2 and then to buy your right to burn yet another 1 ton of CO2. So it's tradable, and you can somehow pay your way out or maybe hedge your risks now buying futures for the years to come. This EUA does not actually point out who is the one burning, and that leaves us as Shipnext as well at least a little opportunity to prove that it's not only the ship owners who are burning fuel, it's also the cargo owners, the shippers who are shipping their cargo, therefore creating carbon. Before we go on, of course, what is a CII? So the CII is going to be adopted as an index that measures emissions. We will be looking into the formula a little bit down the line of this presentation, but it's actually adopted starting from next year and for vessels above 5,000 gross tonnage. So what we propose, so Shipnext, as you probably already know, Shipnext is a platform. We literally patented the transition of the industry from emails, and what today the shipping market is, in fact, are millions of emails and communication exchanged through different messengers. So we created that kind of a bridge from an email communication onto a platform. So replication, replifying the shipping market in a way using our platform. But the solution that we actually offer is this instant cargo to ship matching, somewhere similar to Uberization of the shipping sector, where for any cargo you need to ship, regardless of its size, shape, quantity or destination, you can instantly find the best matching ship, and therefore also sorted out by best deadweight or best vessel in terms of size, but also best vessel in terms of ballasting, so the minimizing the ballast run. So the emission index we propose is actually on the based on the cargo actually shipped. So that's very important to know, because on the next couple of slides we will see why is it so important to have it based on the cargo and not on the ship. So it's instant, yeah. So the solution we offer is instant. Imagine, okay, finding the vessel to ship your cargo. That's already a task, and also for the ship owner to finding the cargo to carry. That's already a task that takes hours or sometimes a couple of days to solve. But imagine when you have to choose between several ships, you also have to somewhere starting next year start calculating the amount of CO2 the vessel is going to burn. So that's going to be a hell of a lot of calculations. So the advantage of Shipnext is that it does it instantly. In our proposal, the shipper and the owner will bear the burden, and that's important because you will not stop the innovation in shipping. Owners, they themselves are quite motivated to find the best, most economic way of operating their vessel, moving cargo around. They try to reduce emission, but they cannot be forced to do it faster than it is already been done. But shippers, on the other hand, they will see how much CO2 is being burned. If they are in the same boat with the owner, we believe it's going to be a very important step ahead. And as you know, there are different shippers. There are those that have their own fleet. They have sometimes their own ships on time charter. So there is no that really red line between the shippers and the owners in this transition period. So we believe our solution will be fair and reasonable during this transition period. So let us look at this case study. You are looking at a situation where you have one ship which is considered green because it burns less fuel, 12 tons per day, and another vessel which is this slide. So and another vessel which is considered less of an emitting vessel, more of a emitter, consuming 16 tons per day. They're both in the same position. Naturally, they will both arrive at port A at the same time and take the same amount of days. So at the end, you will see both of them consuming, 144 and 192 tons of fuel, respectively. And you have to bear in mind that each ton of fuel produces 3.18 tons of CO2. Not 2.5, this is some people are mistaken, but 3.17. Now let's look at the same situation, but from a different angle, where you have two ships actually at a different distance, where, as you see, the greener vessel has to do more days ballast, so 7 days versus 2. And you probably know as well as I do that there are ships that today do 30 days ballast or more, coming from India to Brazil and from South Africa to Australia. So there are ships that actually ballast much more than 7 days. But let's consider for this case study that we have to compare a 7-day ballaster with a 2-day ballaster, and as you can see, the situation totally differs from what we have seen above. So the greener ship actually starts to consume more fuel while they carry the same amount of cargo. And at the end, the greener ship consumes more produces more CO2 by 37 tons than a more consuming vessel. So the situation is already not that straightforward. Now let's look at yet another case. So let's say that a ship with a higher emission is half laden. So it carries less cargo by half. And yet again, the situation does not change. I'm just showing you the approach of CII. The situation does not change. You're not comparing apples to apples and pears to pears. You are just looking at the consumption irrespective of the amount of cargo, because CII is based on the intake, not the cargo. And this is the big problem behind this IMO proposed index. It is totally irrelevant or is taken irrespective of the amount of cargo the ship actually carries. So if I'm going to take a ballasting ship now, it's going to produce the same amount of CO2. A higher burning ship is still going to be greener, whilst the greener ship carrying cargo will be a bigger consumer of CO2, of fuel, and therefore a burner of producer of CO2. So totally illogical formula, as you can see from this very easy use case. And In this case, actually, the picture turns totally upside down yet again whenever you link it to the cargo. As you can see, at the end of this slide, you have a new total, which is the total CO2 produced per ton of cargo. So in this case, finally, the picture goes back to a logical one where the greener ship carrying more cargo, double the amount of cargo, even though it's a higher, let's say, consuming vessel overall, but divided by the cargo, it's actually finally a much greener solution. So it's almost a half than that of the red vessel. And well, the picture turns yet again, you know, if you turn it upside down, but again, just to show that the total figures based on the total CO2 produced still remains unchanged. If you see, irrespective of how much cargo you take, it still the vessel still produces no matter how much you turn it, or no matter how much you load, how much cargo you load on it. So let's look at how much is going to cost. And here we compared, we are comparing two ships where the greener vessel is carrying half of the cargo intake, and the red one carries a full intake. They burn, as we already see in the a different amount of fuel. Proportionally, the green vessel is a higher consuming vessel, and as you can see, because of the intake, it's going to cost much more per ton of cargo to carry the cargo in terms of emissions. So the emission actually today is measured by the quantity, by the amount of tons. So the total, where you see the totals, this column, this is what's going to cost the ship owner to actually carry or to burn this much CO2, and it's going to be $58,000. But if you divide it by the amount of cargo, it's a lesser figure, but it's actually more logical, because if you start comparing the two ships, they both have to pay the same amount of emission tax, but there is just much less cargo carried on the greener vessel. So it makes no logic to penalize the two owners with two different vessels. So here again, you can see that the formula that we are proposing, the approach that we are proposing, is much more logical, and it stimulates. I think this is the key aspect of it. It stimulates the owners to manage their vessels more efficiently, have less ballast runs, and in the meantime, of course, follow all the other emission indexes that are imposed on them on the actual construction. So nobody is saying that no one is going to innovate from now on. Of course they are, but at least in the meantime, there has to be logic behind the way everybody's taxed for emissions. So here you can compare the two formulas. So you have the current formula, the CII formula, which again is an annual fuel consumption multiplied by this 3.18 divided by the annual distance traveled multiplied by capacity. So that's what I was saying. It does not take any cargo carried into consideration. It just multiplies it by capacity, by the intake capacity of the ship. And then pay attention, correction factors to be developed. I mean, that's too ambiguous. It's not straightforward. There are a lot of question marks, and it makes totally no common sense to use, as you have seen just now in the case study. Whereas the formula that we propose is quite simple. So we calculate the quantity of fuel consumed throughout the whole voyage. So of course, distance divided by the speed multiplied by the fuel consumption at sea laden, and additionally the consumption of vessel at sea in ballast. We do not take into consideration the consumption at port, at least not yet, because again there is no clear understanding whether the ship will be taking energy from shore or burning fuel. Moreover, they all burn round about the same amount of fuel today. Well, like 1 ton of fuel per day when in port idling. So we let that down. Moreover, again, penalizing owners for the amount of days they spend in port is actually penalizing them for the performance of the port. So it, again, including that into the formula would make absolutely no common sense. Now, then you go into the quantity of CO2 produced, so that we take the quantity of fuel consumed multiplied by 3.18. And this is what I explained. This is the amount of CO2 produced burning 1 ton of fuel. And then finally, you get to the SCII, so the Shipnext CII, which is the quantity of CO2 produced divided by the quantity of cargo carried. So very simple, very transparent and logical approach, and really measures the amount of CO2 you produce carrying the cargo. This is actually how it plays out on our platform. I will show it in live demo. But as soon as you click on the cargo, you have vessels line up, and every vessel here has its own index showing how much CO2 is produced. Very simple, very fast, and very transparent. And so why Shipnext? Once again, we have instant cargo to ship matching, as I've said. We stimulate owners because of the Uberization approach and this instant ship to cargo and cargo to ship matching process. We stimulate owners to reduce ballast runs, just like Uber, reduced our emissions in taxis. And the taxi does not have to drive through across the whole town to pick you up. We in shipping, we stimulate owners to reduce ballast runs and optimize intake through parceling. Shipnext is an algorithm-based solution, so very straightforward and equal to all. I mean, if you compare this to CII, this is something you have to file in for the year to come, so you can either you will at the end not really with all the factors that will be determined, as they say, there will be a lot of averages and guesswork behind it. So eventually and of course no understanding of whether at all the vessel will be carrying cargo down the line. And in our case, it's really straightforward, really based on each cargo. And finally, this transparency should bring a level playing field into the whole solving of this problem. So, Colleen, you're welcome to ask any questions. I will switch over to the live demo just in case anybody asks questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Alex. That was really a wonderful overview of what is being proposed by IMO with the CII and its practicalities, as well as what you're suggesting on the Shipnext CII. Quick question though, do your indices apply to all types of shipping, like container shipping as well as cruise?
Today, Shipnext covers dry bulk, heavy and oversized break bulk shipments. We are launching a tanker missing tanker features in January. We have a cooperation with two large tanker companies, and we can recalculate every single cargo we have on the coming into the platform, or let's say our users are able to manage their workflow, their cargoes, and their emails, and recalculate that into container intake. So that's possible. And we link it to the container freights, but we did not yet cover the container transport with our emission index. Our emission index does work for all types of trades except the container trade so far. The approach, however, will be totally identical when it comes to containers, because at the end, you have the TU intake. Maybe the deadweight is less relevant in container trade, but you do have a TU. If you are carrying 20, 30 containers or TU, you can link that to the total intake of the ship that is carrying it, and then apply the same logic. So as you can see, anything that you apply in shipping and transport has to be working for all types of cargo. There are no really red lines. Container is just a way of packaging cargo, so the formula that has to be adopted has to also work for the container trade.
Okay, and in developing your SCII, did you work with ship owners on creating the formula for that on the basis of their experience?
We have discussed it with a number of owners. They are all cautiously curious and willing to support it. Of course, everybody was hoping for more stand from BIMCO, but BIMCO distanced themselves a bit from all of this. They said, well, we are not really regulators, so we have to follow the, so they have not played the role of the industry leader, where they could, collectively speak out on behalf of ship owners. So that role should be played by somebody, and we hope to actually play that role.
Excellent. Now, what would you need to do in order to get your indexes accepted as a measurement of emissions? I mean, does it meet IMO's requirement for information?
Well, good question. I think there are two sides to this. If you would look at it from our standpoint, on the one hand, the CII, the IMO formula, is not yet finalized. As far as we understand, it's going to be adopted and start working from next year onwards. So there is a possibility, and otherwise there wouldn't be so much criticism from the industry leaders. On the other hand, we have seen cases where platforms such as RightShip, for example, they approached the problem unilaterally, and they launched their ships vetting, so kind of a rating system. And well, it's their formula, it's their approach, and they also themselves have done this a few years back. And it works. So some leading companies in the industry have already adopted that vessel rating system in terms of their technical capacity and their let's say condition. But nevertheless, that rating has been adopted. It's and we know companies that use it irrespective of any other regulations. So. We believe that some leading companies could actually prove that they have not been burning as much fuel as they have been taxed for. But we also know that there are companies that are on the trading side and on the ship owner side who may find this beneficial.
That's very helpful. But what is the procedure for your indexes to be accepted?
Well, I think this This is what we are going to now start looking into very closely. We do hope to get backing of some of the larger trading firms that have 200, 300, 400 ships in their fleet. And we believe that the total emission tax that they will have to pay on the fleet will be bigger than the amount of cargo they ship on their vessels. And that's where the opportunity lays. We believe that this could be the way to prove that if they operate their vessels efficiently, they at the end actually burn less fuel. So we hope to get them to support our case.
Okay, we have a question from Atanas Atanasov. What makes SCII better than EEOI? The latter being considered so far one of the most adequate emission metrics.
Sorry, I didn't catch the EE.
It says EEOI, but wouldn't that be EEXI?
Yeah, EEXI is on the vessel's construction. So as far as I know, it's not taking into consideration the actual cargo carried. So maybe Athanasios can explain what he meant.
Oh, EEOI, operational index. Thank you.
All right.
Energy efficiency operational index.
I will have to look into this. I have not heard of this one. Maybe it's even similar to our approach. Again, you know, from what we know, there none besides the CII have been adopted. So any other approach in this should be somewhere down the same line as the index that we propose. But nevertheless, you know, it's the problem is not to create an index. The problem is to have it adopted. When you start looking into this on the piece of paper and using a pencil, it's not really a systematic approach. So you can say as a company that, okay, we came up with an index, but another question is, how do you adopt this index? And we believe that adopting it on a platform like Shipnext has a much larger multiplication effect. Okay,
it looks as though the reference is to the formula would be CO2 divided by laden distance times cargo. And it's the one that IMO sets their target on.
Yeah. Okay. We will have a look at that into that.
Okay, wonderful. So I guess you mentioned there are correction factors that are being considered under CII. What sort of correction factors are they referencing there?
Well, we have not seen any reference to this. We know it's to be determined, but we have not yet seen what this is about.
Okay. George Murphy. Hello, George. Any feedback from the tanker broker community concerning this system looking to match cargoes to ships? Is the question.
Oh, sorry. I thought you were asking. Sorry, please.
No, I was saying hello to George, but I was.
Okay.
But George's question is: any feedback from the tanker broker community concerning this system looking to match cargoes to ships? And I think you've got a good answer for
yes,
that.
yes, we have. Look, I think that this question is not about a broker and tanker community, but broker in general, George. So we have been, from the moment we started developing Shipnext, we have been accused for our attempts to kill the broker in the industry, which we all know now that it's not true. There are platforms that have been developed by brokers. There are brokers that do not have technology to develop platforms, but we all know that emails is not the way forward. So our approach to brokers, and this also relates to brokers in the tanker industry, is that a broker is a shipping professional. It's a trader. Now, there are brokers that work inside a shipping company. There are brokers that work inside trading company, and there are brokers that work independently. Some trading firms, and we know that there are a few, that do not have the money or the possibility to hire professional ship brokers. And even when they do, those brokers work with other brokers. In this case, shipping will remain a replica of the legal industry, where you have internal lawyers working with external lawyers, because at the end, it's all about communication skills, negotiation skills, help with post-fixing and operations experience, and if you look at it from that angle, we were all afraid of emails at one point, internet and emails, and brokers were afraid that with the start of internet, that's what's going to kill brokers. But at the end, this approach, the ease at which it became possible to find cargo and ships, actually triggered much more business on the market, and finally much more brokers required to help facilitate that trade. So the same will happen now with the facilitation of shipping and trade. There will be more trade in countries where more experience is required, and so on. So we are not afraid that brokers will be extinct.
Okay, we have another question from another dear friend, Ramesh Bhatt, who is asking, prior to proposing SCII index to IMO, has all the relevant info been vetted by either flag or class and received any input from them?
We have approached several classes and flag states. We are in talks with them. I know that they are not really ready to play the leading role in that unless they have the backing of their members. So that's not a process that will take a few days. We are looking at more like a couple of months until we hear more vocal positions on this.
Okay. George is asking, have you spoken with any tanker owners concerning your system? Have any tanker owners shown interest in your system?
Yes, as I said, we are working with 2 tanker companies. We have actually one of our partners is one of the leading broker firms. Interestingly, going back to the topic about brokers, we first met them 3 years ago, and back then they said, Alexander, don't come to us. We will never accept any platforms. Platforms are there to kill brokers. Stop calling us. And then in 1 year later, we actually closed a partnership deal with them. Yeah. So and then a year back they actually proposed this cooperation and started working with us. The same happened with the tanker companies, where we saw that they even had a person literally counting how many requests they got in, how many they responded each day in all their international offices. And then once they saw that all this can now be automated through email parsing and this really data extraction, and mind you that we use AI not just as a buzzword, but really as a technology behind our platform, they were fascinated, and now we are onboarding them for their daily work.
Alex, who would you say benefits most from your systems?
Well, it's designed, as you see, with a split screen. So we designed it in such a way that no matter what your use case is, you can plug and play, start using it from day one. It's a freemium platform similar to what Booking.com would be like. You can start using it free of charge, and then as you gradually become more professional and go into a professional use, you will be, let's say, required to pay. So no matter what your use case is, are you a trader or a shipper or a broker? Are you a broker on the cargo side or the ship side, or a ship owner, or a carrier? You will find this this platform useful. So that we don't differentiate. It's impossible to differentiate, and this is what actually makes shipping and transport so difficult to innovate. because there are almost no companies that are totally identical. We know shippers with large flotillas. We have traders with no vessels. We know carriers and forwarders who have ships and those who have not. So the platform that the industry adopts has to be very, very, flexible in that respect. So we have not really counted on any particular group as an isolated one.
Okay, so putting your crystal ball on, and depending on the outcomes from this week at MEPC, what do you see as the timeline for implementation of your index?
We have already implemented. Of course, now we will start working on with the regulators, with the industry. We will try to build a larger group of players around it. It's an ongoing process. We still have time, I believe. I think there is a chance for revision of the CII. I will, by the way, thank you very much once again. I will take a look at the EEOI today, but I think it will be happening within the next 2-3 months from now.
Okay, excellent. Well, all of us are waiting with bated breath to see what comes out of this week. I'm hoping they're working very hard and that we'll get some resolution, because one of the things that makes our industry uncomfortable is that lack of clarity. So if you had a wish list, Alex, what would you wish for in terms of goals or strategies coming out of MEPC this week?
I think that our main wish, Caroline, and this has been bothering everybody who comes up with innovation in the industry, is unity among the key players. Any new technology needs adoption. We have already went a very significant way forward into creating and launching this platform. We have over 4,500 users. We have already went through this, the usual multiple stages of first they laugh at you, then they listen to you, and then they play along. And then now we wish that there are more owners, taking a stand, uniting in adopting new technology, in adopting new, better ways of working. And we see this happening, but it has to be happening faster.
Excellent. Does anybody else have any other questions for Alex?
Thank you, Caroline. I think it was a very good and productive webinar, and pleasure to see you once again.
Have a nice evening.
And yeah.
And I wish everyone, thank you very much for joining us today. This will be available on demand afterwards. And I wish everyone great holidays. And let's keep our fingers crossed that MEPC is productive.
Thank you.
Same to you, folks.
Thank you.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Thanks, bye.